purposes, really a smaller, lower trip cost airplane allows us to go to exponentially more markets than everybody else. And that's really what we're doing.
Good evening, and welcome to the next episode of the Professionals in the Workforce series. Today, we have a very special guest, David Neeleman, most known for founding JetBlue. This isn't all he's done. He also was the first to create an online reservation system for airline tickets all the way back in the 90s. Most recently, he founded Breeze Airways, which may be coming to an airport near you soon, so check that out. He's also created a bajillion airlines in between that timeline. There's so much to unfold, and we'll get right into it right after the trailer. Welcome back, everyone. We're now with David Neeleman. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course, we have a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. To start off, from a young age, were you always interested in airplanes, or did you have something different in mind?
That's a good question. When I was at JetBlue, the PR department got some pictures from my mom, and it had a picture of me when on my 3-year-old birthday with a big plane on my cake. So they said, that's it. That's when it all started. So I'm like, I don't know. But I was born in Brazil and, went back and forth from the United States to Brazil. So I was flying from a young age. Maybe that was the reason.
Makes sense. So the first airline you played a major role in was Morris Air. Originally, it was a travel booking service. How did you transform it into an airline?
We did charters. I called and got a plane. The Hawaiian Airlines had a plane in Hawaii, and they flew to Salt Lake, and we guaranteed it. And so that's how it kind of started, and then it became bigger and bigger. And then we finally decided to just become an airline. So we went through the process, and Steve Hazy, who runs ALC, had some planes, and he said, look, I'm not going to give you these planes unless you operate them yourself as an airline. So that's how it all started.
So Morris Air was the first airline to use an online reservation system, which you created. What sparked the idea to go online way before most people were using computers?
It was actually more ticketless. People didn't have computers, and this was in the early 90s, like 1992. So it was more like if you called a rental car company and you made a reservation, they gave you a confirmation number. If you called a hotel, they give you a confirmation number. But if you called an airline and made a reservation, they had to mail you a ticket. So I said, why are we mailing tickets? Why can't we just give them a confirmation number just like the hotels and rental cars do? And so basically, we just gave you that number, and you showed up at the airport with that number, and we used that number to pull up your reservation. But the problem was for airlines is that there was no reservation system that could handle that, because they were all using flat file systems. The tickets were actually the database. So we had to create a relational database to store those to create confirmation numbers from reservation data. And that was when Navitaire was born, which today is one of the largest reservation systems in the world.
How long did it take the rest of the industry to adapt and start doing online reservations after you did?
I think they started going ticketless by the end of the decade. Within 5 years, everyone was starting to adapt to what we were doing. We were acquired at Morris Air by Southwest Airlines. Mm-hmm. Southwest needed that technology desperately, so we took a team of people down there and taught them how to do it. And today, Southwest is in the Smithsonian as being credited as the first e-ticket airline, but it was really Morris Air.
Yeah. So you mentioned being acquired by Southwest. After, was when you started JetBlue. What lessons from running Morris Air did you apply to JetBlue that made it so great?
I think probably the biggest lesson of all, there are two big ones. Number one is create a great culture. Southwest had a great culture, and they celebrated lots of things. That was one thing. The second thing I learned from Southwest is that heretofore, most of all the startups went and used discarded airplanes, 20-year-old airplanes from other airlines. And I learned from Southwest, if you bought the planes for a really good price and you used the maintenance honeymoon from having a brand new airplane, the cost for operating a new plane was actually cheaper than operating an old airplane because of reliability issues. And so I learned that, and that's why JetBlue started with all brand new airplanes, is because of that lesson I learned at Southwest.
Now, JetBlue is known for offering luxury at an affordable price, such as satellite TV and free snacks. How are we able to offer these luxuries, in an industry with such tight margins?
At that time, ironically, when I started JetBlue kind of in the late 90s, 99, 2000, airlines were still trying to give people snacks, and the snacks were $5 for a sandwich, and nobody really cared about eating food on airplanes. And the satellite TV was less than $1. So it was basically just replacing something for what people didn't want that cost a lot of money for something they wanted that cost a lot less money. And so, it was just a decision based on what people really wanted as opposed to what they didn't want.
Now, you mentioned like paying $5 for a sandwich and people didn't really want the food as much. Why do you think the airline industry transitioned away from giving meals in economy like they did in, I'd say, the 80s or 70s?
Because they couldn't do it. Because they couldn't do a good job of it. It was very expensive. And so, people would just bring their own food on the airplane. And, airports got better at having restaurants, and people would bring their own food on. And so it just became logistically challenging and expensive. And it was just, and nobody said, hey, I'm thinking about getting a really good sandwich, I'm going to go fly an airplane, because it wasn't quality anyway, so it was easy to get rid of.
Makes sense. So in 2007, you had some setbacks and had to step down from JetBlue. What inspired you to go and start multiple more airlines?
Well, I was born in Brazil. My dad was a journalist down there, and I had also gone back there and done some missionary service there for a couple of years when I was just out of high school. So I really wanted to do something for Brazil. So when I had that opportunity to leave JetBlue and go down to Brazil and start an airline, which today is the largest in Brazil, flying over 100,000 people a day, transforming air travel in Brazil. 18,000, employees, and
Wow.
half of them we got out of poverty. It was a life's mission, and it was probably one of the most important things I've ever done.
So you came so big in Brazil. How would you say the airline industry is different in Brazil, and was flying not as popular before you introduced your airline there?
Absolutely, yeah. It wasn't popular at all. There was about 47 million people traveling by air. Today it's 110 million, so we double the size of the market. People were basically relegated to buses if you couldn't afford it. So what we did is we did segmentation fares, advanced purchase fares, did all the things that you see in the U.S., which helped stimulate traffic and get people off buses and get them on airplanes.
So a lot of people have been upset at the trend in the industry of smaller seats and less legroom. Is this something that the different airlines you're running are trying to change? And what do you think an ideal amount of legroom is?
Well, it depends on what people want to pay for. Some people care about legroom, some people don't care about legroom. I think one of the challenges that airlines like Southwest are having, there's a lot of word in the press about their struggles. They just said, look, we want to be egalitarian. Everyone gets the same legroom. Everybody gets the same seat, and they decide for the passenger what they think they want. We're not going to charge you for a bag. Some people said, look, I want to be charged for a bag, because if I don't bring it, I'd rather have a lower fare. I'd rather have a tighter seat. If I can get it for cheaper, give me that section. Or let me get a fare that includes the bag. Or give me a first class seat. I'll pay up for that. So, what we try and do at Breeze, my latest airline, is give people choice. We have 45 extra legroom seats. We have 12 first class seats.
Wow.
Yeah, 45 extra legroom seats. We have 12. So about half of our airplane has an upgrade experience. And even the back's really not too bad. And then we say, we'll give you free Wi-Fi, we'll give you extra legroom, we'll give you a free bag. Or if you just want to be the cheapest fare and bring your backpack because you can't afford anything else, we got that for you too. So we give people a maximum amount of choice.
Does Breeze also have TVs?
We don't, but we have high stream video, so you can download your Netflix videos, or you can watch things with the Wi-Fi.
And what would you say Breeze is doing differently than other airlines and other airlines that you've started as well?
Well, I think the major thing that we do is we try to fly on routes where we don't have nonstop competition.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can fly those routes, people don't like to make connections. They get stressed, especially this time of year when the weather's bad. And
oh yeah, because there could be a delay, and then all their plans are ruined.
Yeah, if we go 2 hours late, like we do sometimes, if it's an issue with the weather or mechanical, and we try never to cancel a flight, we let you know, and then at least we'll get you there. You're not stressed about making a connection.
So you said you're trying to find like underserved airports. Will we ever see Breeze expand the bigger airports like JFK or Chicago or Newark?
Probably not. We do fly to Newark, but we fly to it from West Virginia, Charleston, West Virginia. So if we do fly out of those bigger airports, it'll be probably to a city that doesn't have nonstop service.
Now, I know Breeze has like some smaller airplanes, and the industry is kind of shied away from bigger airplanes like the 747 or A380 in exchange for smaller ones. Why do you think they've shied away from those larger aircrafts, and will they ever make a comeback?
Yeah, I don't think so. 380s, after COVID, obviously there was a big demand for international travel, so a lot of those came out of the desert and they're flying again. But for our purposes, really a smaller, lower trip cost airplane allows us to go to exponentially more markets than everybody else, and that's really what we're doing. The only way those big airplanes make sense is if you're flying into big hubs.
Looking forward into the future, what excites you most about the airline industry and where it's headed, and what role will Breeze play in it, and also your other airlines?
I think from Breeze's perspective, we're just going to there's hundreds of markets that don't have nonstop service, and the more we added 29 cities last year, we have 66 cities now. We can go to a couple hundred cities, but then we can connect the dots amongst those cities. So I think just bringing air travel to people who where it's complicated, where it's expensive, and getting people to travel more often because it's just a lot less hassle.
How many airplanes would you like to see Breeze grow to eventually? Like, what would be your ideal number?
Well, we only have 40 today, and we have orders for up to 120. So we'll get to there, and then we'll decide where to go from there.
That's a lot. Now, on another note, I want to talk about this. I know it's well known you have ADHD. Would you say ADHD is something that has helped you thrive or a setback? I know personally, if I didn't have ADHD myself, I would not be doing this talk show.
Yeah, no, it certainly helps you thrive. But you got to be careful with it. You got to surround yourself with good people who understand you and that can push back against you and can complement what you have. So you have an extraordinary gift, but then obviously it has some downsides, so you need to complement it with really good people.
Now, lastly, if you could give a single piece of advice to a young entrepreneur who'd like to disrupt the industry, what would it be?
Just go find what people aren't doing. Go find a reason for doing it, and then be the best at it. Be the best that you possibly can.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure having you on. And make sure to tune in to our next episode with the founder of Party City.